Hey, everybody, and welcome to the next installment of the Take the Leap series, where I and some of my good friends talk to y'all about how and why creatives aren't taking the leap into business as they would want to. So, this whole series is all about making sure that creatives have the information and tools that they need to take the leap into business and to address some of the fears or concerns that they may have. And today we're going to be talking about healthcare. And this is very, very important because we know that, particularly for Black and Brown entrepreneurs, we have physical as well as mental ailments that we need to take care of, and leaving your job with benefits can be really scary. So, on today's episode, we have two experts that I'm joined by, and we're going to get started first with Chris Mosley. And he's going to talk to us about the work that he does in helping people get insurance and seek medical care. Hey, Chris, how you doing today?
Hey, my longtime friend Carmen, how you doing? How you doing? You know what? I can only say how proud I am of you, and this is a very important topic and very near and dear to my heart. So thank you for having me to be a part of this. I look forward to it. The last couple of months I've been doing COVID-19 testing and vaccinations out in the community. But my primary role at Alabama Regional Medical Services, where I'm the outreach and marketing director, has been really around the Affordable Care Act and healthcare. So I look forward to speaking with you today. And again, thank you for having me on.
Awesome. Thank you so much. Yes, and let's get into it. And I'm glad you brought up the Affordable Care Act, or it is as it is also known as Obamacare. There are a lot of myths about what the Affordable Care Act is, what it does, but for the purposes of folks who are watching this who are thinking that they can't be entrepreneurs because they can't take care of their physical health care needs, tell us about what the Affordable Health Care Act is and does for individuals here in this country.
So again, this is a very exciting opportunity to speak to entrepreneurs, those who are a part of the gig economy, who may be leaving their job and pursuing their own path forward as it relates to making a living and contributing to society. So the Affordable Care Act was enacted under the Obama administration. I want to say it's been about 12 years, if not longer. We won't, quote me on that, but what it is, it's an opportunity for the federal government to help to subsidize healthcare so that everybody in this country actually has the opportunity to get healthcare. So we've been very fortunate enough to have that um, available to anybody who would like to take advantage of it. And pretty much what it is, it's an opportunity for your healthcare, be it from any of the large healthcare providers in this state of Alabama. That's going to be Blue Cross and Blue Shield, but it's going to allow you and afford you the opportunity possibly to get a subsidy so that you can actually afford the healthcare, because healthcare is based on premiums as well as deductibles. So the federal government, through the federally funded marketplace, allows for you to put your information in through healthcare.gov, and as a result, you can see as to whether or not you can get a tax credit for your healthcare.
Awesome, awesome. And that's so important because I think there's so many myths about what the Affordable Health Care Act or Obamacare is and does. And if I'm not mistaken, isn't the exchange open now for people who have lost their jobs or who are changing or transitioning careers due to COVID-19?
So, Carmen, we are at a inflection point as it relates to the Affordable Care Act. Joe Biden and President Biden made a provision for everybody in this country to take advantage of. So, Sunday, August the 15th, is when we actually close out this special enrollment period for the Affordable Care Act. So, if you don't have health insurance and you are seeking health insurance, I would tell you to go on healthcare.gov, put your information in, and see what comes back. There are navigators, certified application counselors, who will gladly help you to get some assistance for healthcare. So, Sunday is the last day for people to actually take advantage of the special enrollment period that the Biden administration made available as a result of COVID 19. Let me say it this way: 2.5 million people in this country have taken advantage of the extension of the open enrollment period. Usually, the previous administration had an open enrollment period of 45 days. Now, I think we're probably up to 6 to 8 months that you've had the opportunity to take advantage to see if you can get health care, to see if you can get the tax credits. The tax
Mhm.
credits are very helpful for people to drive down the cost as it relates to the premiums and also the deductibles.
Absolutely. That is so good. Good information. So make sure that you guys go check it out.
Sunday,
Um,
by Sunday, we
by
want
Sunday,
everybody
August
in
15th.
Alabama to go on healthcare.gov before Sunday. See if you can take advantage of this opportunity.
Absolutely. So in previous conversations with entrepreneurs, particularly creative entrepreneurs, one of the reasons they didn't start or leave their employment to start businesses, excuse me, was because they had some chronic illnesses or some illnesses that had to be maintained. Like, so whether it was past terminal illness that they are recovered from or are still dealing with, or managed illnesses like high blood pressure, diabetes, things like that. So, could you talk to me about more what the Alabama Regional Medical Services does and how the Affordable Care Act and other health services in the community can help with people who have these ailments that need to be constantly managed?
So let's put it in two ways. Let's talk about how it relates to the ACA and what you would be getting if you do get a health insurance plan under the Affordable Care Act. So as it as it stands now, if you get a plan under the Affordable Care Act, you have what are known as essential health benefits. Those are the actual provisions in the ACA or in your health insurance plan that everybody qualifies for. Um, Prenatal care, if you want that, primary health visits annually, drug prescription reductions. So, any health insurance plan that you would get through the federally funded marketplace, which is healthcare.gov, are going to have these 10 essential health benefits. That said, in the state of Alabama, our provider is who? Blue Cross and Blue Shield. They do a tremendous job as it relates to making sure that the coverage that you have is adequate for any chronic condition, be it diabetes, high blood pressure, high cholesterol. Again, health insurance as it relates now, there are no such things as pre-existing conditions. So you cannot be denied to get a health insurance plan as a result of a condition that you already had. What we are attempting to do is to get as many people covered by healthcare because, as you know, having a relationship and a long-time relationship with a doctor will actually lead to improvements in one's health. And so that's why we want everybody to be insured, so that they establish that relationship with their doctor and that they are doing that at a reasonable and affordable cost. So then you ask the second question: what does Alabama Regional Medical Services do? We
Mhm.
are what you call a federally qualified health center. So if you don't have health insurance and you're unable to get health insurance, we are a provider that provides everything for people who can pay out of pocket costs. Again, it's based on your income. We subsidize a doctor's visit. So say a doctor's visit is $150, you may wind up paying with Alabama Regional Medical Services like $35 or so for a doctor's visit.
Awesome. Yes. Federally qualified healthcare centers are excellent resources in the community, particularly if you're a young person and you don't have a doctor, because transitioning into adulthood means you got to find your own doctor and not your parents finding your doctor for you. So if you don't actually already have a doctor or a relationship with the physician group. Federally qualified healthcare centers are a great option to look into to establishing a healthcare partnership that's more holistic, that can take you through multiple stages of life in a way that you can afford it. Would you agree with that, Chris?
Absolutely. And again, let me just put a shout out. We kicked off National Health Centers Week yesterday. So we did some on Monday. So we did some shots for the homeless in Lynn Park on Monday. Then yesterday we were at the Jones Valley Teaching Farm to talk about healthy food promotion. Today we are having our Patients Appreciation Day. So we've been running around honoring our patients. Again, there are a couple of community health centers or federally qualified health centers in this area. Cahaba Medical, Christ Health Center. We are the largest provider of healthcare for folks who don't have insurance in this area. I know like people like to talk about some of the others, but again, if you need healthcare, you can go to a federally qualified health center. Let me just put a plug in for Alabama Regional Medical Services. Here at ARMS, we have pharmacies, we have dental, we have mental health, we have primary health, we have OBGYN, we have optometry. Like, here, what do you need? We can give it to you. So that's what we do at our health centers. And again, as I tell people about our pharmacies, if you go and you want to do cost, like look at the cost of what is the drug at this compared to us, more than likely our 340B pharmacy program is going to be the cheapest. And again, we provide dental, optometry, primary hair, OBGYN. We do it all at ARMS. So we stay busy, and we have a number of locations around the city. And again, just to plug in, Cahaba Medical, Christ Health Center, John Quetta Bailey is over at Cahaba. Dr. Robert Record runs Christ in Woodlawn. So find you a healthcare provider and get your relationship with a doctor. That's how you continue to maintain good health.
Absolutely. Great, great, great advice. And to bring it back to COVID-19, y'all are offering vaccinations. People can come
Absolutely.
there and multiple other places to get vaccinations. And I'm vaccinated. I encourage everyone else to get vaccinated. Where can people get information if people are experiencing some vaccine hesitancy? um, are y'all, passing out information? Do you have resources to help people best understand why this is important and how these things work?
Yeah. So again, in talking about COVID-19, we do two things. We promote vaccinations because we want everybody to be vaccinated as quickly as possible. But as you know, in promoting vaccines, you have to definitely educate people. We know that there is a great sense of vaccine hesitancy out there. So we at ARMS do that through our medical providers with our patients. We participate with the Birmingham City Council on Word on the Street, which is something that is hosted by City Council President William Parker. We are also in partnership with the Jefferson County Department of Health. And let me just indicate this. The health department has a call center at 205-858-2221. And so you can call and get information from them. So that's, we do that call center, and then we're out in the community providing vaccines. We've done over 3,000 individuals fully vaccinated. So we do Moderna, Pfizer, and J&J, and you can go to any of our locations right now and get a vaccine either at the pharmacy or one of our locations. Same thing with everybody else in this community as well.
Awesome, awesome. That's great information. And so, is there anything that I didn't ask you that you want to share about the great work y'all are doing over at ARMS and about the ACA?
Well, again, I just want to put a big plug in because I know that we are speaking directly to entrepreneurs. If you are without health insurance at this point in time, I
Mhm.
want you to get a relationship with a healthcare provider so that you can be insured as quickly as possible. The deadline for this special enrollment period is Sunday, August the 15th. If you need help figuring out how health insurance works, you can always call our office at 205 407 5600. We are what you call certified application counselors. So we don't have a biased opinion in health insurance. What I always tell individuals is this: buying health insurance is probably going to be one of the most complex decisions that you make outside of being married or getting a house or moving jobs. Health insurance is one of those things that are very complex and complicated to understand. There are resources out there, such as Alabama Regional Medical Services, to help you to navigate that path, especially as an entrepreneur, be it, small entrepreneur, big entrepreneur. Having health insurance is uh, something that you should not go with. It is a right that you are entitled to, and I just implore people to take advantage of the tax credits that are available to them. You might be surprised, wind up paying zero out of cost expenses to get a very good Blue Cross and Blue Shield plan here in this state.
Thank you. That is such great information. Please, y'all, go out there and take advantage of these hard fought for healthcare legislation and opportunities for us to get health insurance and to maintain and improve our health. Please, please, please create a relationship with a healthcare provider if you do not already have one. You cannot be an entrepreneur if you are not here with us. So, in order for you to run your business, you must be well. And on that note, we want to bring up Dr. Eliza Belle, who's a licensed psychologist, to talk with us more about how our mental health plays into our ability to be good entrepreneurs. So, welcome, Dr. Belle. How are you?
Good, thank you. Thank you for having me. Similar to Chris, I'm really grateful to be on with you. Have seen Carmen's passion behind investing in people, but herself, and also the advocacy and for a very long time. And so it's good to see a lot of the fruits of your labor continue throughout even mechanisms like this. So thank you for having me on.
Awesome, awesome. I'm glad to be here. And so we know that anxiety and other issues among entrepreneurs are very high. Just naturally, the nature of entrepreneurship, it
Right.
just is stressful. And then you add a global pandemic, right? So we are experiencing a lot of high stress. I talked to some entrepreneurs at the at the month 3 in the pandemic, and people were experiencing some very, very high stress,
Yeah.
and when people were not coping well. So, going into something that is stressful, before you take the leap into entrepreneurship, how can you best assess whether you are mentally ready to do so?
Mm. Well, first you start by assessing if you're mentally ready. I think we forget that we should prepare ourselves just the way we would a business plan or a business idea, model, concept, and how they work that through, and how you figure out what you're going to need financially, time wise, life wise. I think we should also make sure to add onto that checklist a mental health plan. And preparedness is going to be one of the best things you can do to prepare for coping and for what is already designed to be a stressful and possibly strenuous career journey. And so if you know that on the outset, being intentional about putting things in place that will help you for when those times are guaranteed to come, of stress, and also, and that could not necessarily an overwhelming stress, but just a stress that's going to be naturally from long hours, or money being tight for a while, or having to worry about, how things are going to get off as far as the marketing and sales, or whatever it is that you're providing. And so just the intentionality and the preparedness. I think it's interesting that Chris talked about, the federally qualified health centers having a myriad of services offered. Many people present to medical centers for issues that they're dealing with physically. And we find that those are just manifestations of some mental health conditions. And so we being psychologists and therapists and counselors, may not see people until they realize that they're having an issue that may show up physically. And so I'm a huge advocate of health insurance and getting things in place to where you can be taken care of when something happens, because we are, the keepers of our health, our wealth. And so just wanting to have that sense of security in knowing that you have ability to get that taken care of, but also knowing that you can be prepared for that when it happens.
Absolutely. I definitely believe in a plan and learning yourself and knowing yourself, so you know when things are like a little like you're not feeling quite right, but you can't
Right.
put your finger on it. That is very helpful. And particularly, breaking down stigmas around mental health in Black and Brown communities. We know that you are a huge advocate for that. Um, and
Absolutely.
and so I just want to talk to people and have people understand it, and to, you give insight around the ideas of mental health being something extraordinary and not like a part of like your daily routine. It's no different than like brushing your teeth or making sure you're not ashy when you leave the house. It's
Absolutely. We know how important that is.
Absolutely. So you do a daily check-in with yourself. How are we feeling today? And so how do you learn to measure that? So if I'm standing in the mirror and I'm like, how am I feeling today? How do we learn to measure to where we can, say for ourselves, so today is not a good day. I may need to contact someone.
Great. It's a great question. And you bring up a great point that we're not necessarily conditioned or taught how to do these things. And some of that's due to stigma. I know I grew up in a household that was very traditional, Southern Christian, Black family where, there was a lot of love there, but there was also this sense of strength that came from, pushing through and from getting by, and also for keeping some of those things that were maybe troubling to you or troubling to your world inside, not just because it was not seen, but it was more, if you are to let these things out or acknowledge
Mhm.
them, that may cause problems, or you may get judged. And again, I don't fault that being the way that I was conditioned to believe about maybe mental wellness, but at the same time, it doesn't mean that we can't continue to expand and grow upon those ideas of that you can still be strong, you can still be perseverant and resilient, and still take care of things that may cause you trouble or emotional distress at times. And so you brought up, how do we, start to kind of get that meter on those things? And it really just begins with starting to ask ourselves those questions. In the South, we're very good at these Southern graces where we can say, hey, how you doing? And everybody's good. I'm well, I'm blessed, I'm highly favored. And we move on, and we don't always see ourselves for what we're actually feeling. So usually what I suggest people to do is to stop and take a second when it's that time of saying, how are you today? You just said it in the mirror. How am I feeling today? And
Mhm.
when no one's, having to do a passing by greeting or salutation, and it's just you, and you say, how am I feeling today? What would you answer? Are you tired? Are you worried? Are you nervous about anything that's upcoming? Are you anxious? Are you excited? Are you feeling a little lonely? And I think we can say those things, and really in the safety of our own spaces is even the best way to do it. But start to name our emotions, name our feelings, and just even ask ourselves those questions is a great place to start. It helps us get into the language of understanding we are more than, just happy and sad, or mad and happy. And so I think even looking at as a business owner, what does success look like to you? Knowing that you may have multiple layers of, whether that's financial abundance, or whether it's, again, whether it's sales, or whether it's, viewers, or people who are tuned in and supporting. You have different ways of figuring out what that may look like. Our mental health is the same way. And so if we're looking at what does well look like for me, where I feel like I have enough rest, I am able to get most of the things done that I plan to get done today. Or if not, I feel okay with getting them done in another time, and not guilty or shamed or disappointed or feeling like a failure. And so it's just asking ourselves the questions, but also talking that out. I, of course, recommend therapy, counseling as a way to do that. But I think before we get there, it's about just starting to get ourselves comfortable with talking about our mental health the way we would our physical health. And again, we have multiple things that are out there for someone who's wanting to get in shape. There's fitness challenges, there's
Mhm.
diets, there's different cleanses and detoxes you can find at a snap of a finger. And I think, again, when thinking about our emotional health, we should plan and also prepare our lives for those same kind of challenges. So you're starting a business. Well, let me do an 8-week mental health challenge where I'm starting to kind of affirm myself for the skills that I have and for the things that I'm bringing to the table to open doors and to make room. And so I'm creating, this opportunity for me to grow and to succeed. And so they're having a challenge where you're affirming yourself, but also then acknowledging things that are probably troubling and could be some sadness or anxiety. How am I addressing that over this 8-week period? Who am I talking to? How am I getting resources? How am I seeking supports? And so at the end of that 8 weeks, I would hope, and my goal would be that this person would be definitely much more capable, competent, and ready to face what may be a difficult or overwhelming challenge at a certain point in their life. So just again, getting the language in our minds and in our hearts, and also preparing.
Absolutely. I think, identifying emotions is a learned skill.
It is.
That, I mean, that I learned over time as I grew into adulthood. But I know that even with my youngest nephew, I help him identify, like, that is like my improvement, my
Mhm.
generational improvement.
Yeah.
But I was like, this is called frustration. It's okay to be frustrated. This is what frustration feels like, as
Yeah.
opposed to him just attributing everything to anger. And I think that is so important. It's so difficult. And I encourage people, however you express yourself. Like, if you just have to walk around and talk to yourself, that's totally fine.
Hmm.
Like, sometimes you have to talk it out. If you have to write it out, if you need to praise dance it out, however you get to the point of identifying what you're
However.
actually feeling,
Mhm.
is so important, because it becomes so much easier to get the help that you need when you're more clear about what you're experiencing.
So true. And I think too, it also helps you structure a business and that looks like you and that fits a life that is supporting your needs for wellness. And so, like you just said, somebody may need to dance it out, praise it out, all these different things. Just like we think about your schedule, you may not be someone who does well in the morning, early in the
Mhm.
mornings, because you have a need for whether it's rest or meditation or peace or quiet. And so then you wouldn't structure your business to be around a very early morning expectation that you may not be able to meet, because it's not going to produce or contribute to, say, a well you in the long run. And I think
Mhm.
we sometimes think we have to fit into a outline that was created from somebody else, because we look at this billionaire or this millionaire and we say, what did they do? And we read books about how this person became a millionaire. And I want to copy that person's model because that's going to help me become a millionaire. Well, we don't know what that person, struggled with or dealt with daily or sacrificed or compromised to get where they were. And that may have worked for them, but that may not work for you. And you absolutely still can be a millionaire, a billionaire, a success, but you want to create a life that looks like one that will contribute to your success and wellness. And so, like you just mentioned with your nephew, I
Mhm.
think too, we don't know what that other person or that successful person did, or again lost, or or regretted after they got to where they were. And yes, they got to where they were, but that means for the next generation or this next group of entrepreneurs, we have the opportunity to change the tide and do those things, plus enjoy it, plus be content,
Mhm.
plus not be overworked and burned out where we don't even care about what we're doing anymore, and get to where it no longer brings us joy. We can do those things now because we know more. We have more resources, we have more abilities now to take in the information and also decide I'm going to put myself first too, as well as my business.
Absolutely. I am a big proponent of resisting grind culture.
Yes.
This idea of team no sleep, I will knock out on y'all in a heartbeat. I
Good.
will reschedule a meeting without shame. But I just don't have it today.
Mm-mm.
You cannot back to back Zoom me for
Yes.
hours on end.
What to say? You're not going to Zoom me to death now.
No, I could not do it. And I think that, particularly as a Black woman, it was difficult. One, for me to stand in this space and own myself and my time and the resources that I create within myself. But I also noticed it was different for people when you're like, no, this is a boundary
Yeah.
that I'm setting in order for me to be able to do my best work. And so, what tips do you have for people to identify and set those boundaries and stick to them?
So it takes practice. I think you said it best when we have a lot of roles that we play as Black women, as Black people. where we have, this sense of carrying the load, carrying the weight, and also doing it all with a smile and doing it all with grace and never letting them see you sweat. And again, I'm not one who supports the grind culture where it's like the harder you work, the better of a person you are, the better of a professional you are, or the less sleep you get, that means you must be a better hustler. I don't support that. And so I think it starts with changing our understanding of what that looks like for us. And I think too, it takes sometimes getting permission, like physical or like that verbal permission from someone else to do that, to see it that way. We don't always know that we're not alone in the way that we feel about needing boundaries or needing those supports in place that may have been there before but now are causing some issue. We don't always know until we hear maybe somebody else say, look, I dealt with the same thing and look what happened. I didn't put these boundaries. I didn't know how to say no. I didn't know how to be confident about what I want and need and stand on that regardless of who I may potentially let down or hurt feelings for. And so having a support group, I encourage all individuals and persons who are going through similar journeys to find some type of common ground with other people. And even if you're not, say, an extroverted or social butterfly, having whether it's an online network or a email or text group, somewhere that you can have an outlet to share common experiences and also hear those. Hey, you're doing okay by saying no today. You're doing okay by closing off some relationships that may not be feeding your business or your personal lives. And again, therapy is a great place to do that too. But I think it takes practice. And so what I'm getting at is it takes having to hear it, that it's okay, and to know that you can, stand on your own worth and your own desires, and know that you may let somebody down, and that's okay. And that it won't, the end of the world, will not come because someone's feelings are hurt because you stood up for yourself or put yourself first or your energy first or your wellness first. I think that if anything, you're setting an example. People sometimes don't know what they're doing intentionally. They're not being intentional about, say, blurring a boundary or meshing or merging over into your lane when it comes to your own needs until you tell them. And so, yeah, it may sting a little bit, but people who love and care for you and support you will or should be there regardless of what direction that you take. So it takes you having to practice. And so I say for even myself, I'm someone who is a servant leader. And so I was always, I grew up with a mother who would give the shirt off of her back literally for anybody who needed it. And so that's what I grew up understanding, as that's what our design was to do as women, as Black women, as people on this earth. And so it was a little difficult for me when I came to putting in my own, boundaries for things, places, and people that I needed to. When I had my first child, I learned to do that a lot better because I just did not have the time. You mentioned it before, like I just don't have the time. And so I couldn't make myself be more available than I was. So that was the best practice for saying, you know what? No, I will not. You know what? No, I cannot. And being okay, because I put myself first, but I also had a different responsibility that took precedent over whoever that was or whatever that was trying to demand or seek time or space. And so whether it's that, something usually has to be in place where, you can say, look, I cannot do these things. Or if not, that's not in your life. Start to practice saying no to just very common things, or putting boundaries in areas that are just, effectual, there's no big impact about it, but just start saying no to this TV show, or no to this food that I want tonight. Like, just no. And then also knowing that boundaries are in place, again, not just to keep people out, but to keep you strong, to keep you more supported. And so you're not keeping or closing the door on just people in your life, but what you're doing is putting structures in place. Boundaries are lines or guides and directions that help you know how to move better. So it's not just about just shutting down or closing off or cutting off. It's about creating the space, creating the journey or the path.
Absolutely. In saying no. So it's been about 4 or 5 years now. So my first boundary for myself that I remember setting after like having some really rough times was that I was only allowed to watch one football game on Saturdays in the fall.
See?
I used to go from college game day all the way to 10 o'clock just sitting there watching football for no real reason other than that was just what we did.
Yeah.
And I decided, I was like, okay, I'm allowed to watch college game day and one football game. And my choices were either, if UAB was playing on TV, since that's I went to grad school there, I had
Yeah.
to watch the UAB game. If UAB wasn't on TV, I would watch Auburn play. And that would be it. I could not watch another football game. And I had to get out of the house. And I have practiced that ever since. And I was like, well, what am I going to do with myself? Like, 'cause everybody's watching football. And I used to go. And so I went on hikes. I went grocery shopping. I cleaned
You
the house.
lived. You
Like I
lived
lived.
more.
And it's like, and the world did not come to an end. And so I think it really does start with one decision. And when you do that one thing and you realize nothing happens, like the sky doesn't fall, you still can go on, and you discover that there's all this time and all this energy and all these other things that you could have tried or you could have been doing. And it's nothing against football. Don't you, please, Lord, do not send me angry
Don't come for
messages
her.
about SEC football. All I'm saying is that you have to curate and understand like what makes you well. And for me, that's outside. I'm an outdoors person. I love kayaking and hiking and riding bikes. I go whitewater rafting. Like all of those things really, really help me. I have a hammock. And if there are ever two trees close enough and I have my hammock, I'm stringing it up, because that really relaxes and grounds me. So I encourage people to find the things that connect you to yourself. If you are a religious person, find the things, use your meditation moments to, not only have conversation with God, but also like work on yourself. And I'm a person, I talk to God like I talk to my friends because me and God
Same here.
friends.
Bruh. Look, bruh.
It's like we have like real conversations. And I say it is difficult to be consistent, but also don't judge yourself. And I think a lot of people get stuck in judging themselves and never really move forward. Is that something you experience?
Yes. And so judging themselves usually in a sense of comparison or a sense of
Mhm.
expectation that was not their own, some type of preset expectation that really did not mean much for their lives, but it was one that we just thought you had to comply with or do. And so that's usually where the judging comes in. I judge myself harshly because I'm supposed to be at this certain place that I don't even know who created that place to be. And so then we, similar to what you just said, when you find out the world's not going to end, you find out like, why was that the expectation? And why is that my expectation? Let's trash that first. And then I realized I'm exactly where I'm supposed to be or where it should be realistically for my part in this journey. I mean, you talked about, cutting yourself off from some activities that may have been limiting your ability to live a little bit more. And I've done this where I've asked people, tell me what your favorite, things to do are. What are your things that make you, feel at peace or at bliss? And for you, you might have mentioned outdoors or things that help you get outside into nature. And then when I ask, how many times have you done that in the last 6 months? You find people will say, not really at all. But you can easily say what brings you joy and peace, but not that you're actually doing the things that do that for you. So then I wonder, are you experiencing joy in your life regularly? Are you experiencing peace regularly? That's where we need to start, like getting some of those things back in place that you already know are there for you that can do that for you. And then also, what is keeping me? What kept me from doing those things in the last 6 months? What kept that? Maybe I was on the couch watching football all day, or maybe I was on social media scrolling all day long and I did not get a chance to do that. Or I was, working, but maybe not even working very hard or working not very smart, but working, burning the gears, and I didn't get much done. And so I don't have time for those things. But then you need time for peace. You need time for contentment. You need time for things that make you feel joy in your life. And so especially if they're at your own doing, not that anybody can bring you or, you don't have to pay for it necessarily, but it's just stuff that you can do. So engaging those things that you can do I think you find more about who you are, like and the more you know about who you are, the less open you are to be that judgment that again is usually from outside or external factors. And so if we're more confident in the people that we are, what we bring to the table, our skills, our abilities, even our deficits, even our weaknesses, if we're more confident about like, okay, yeah, I'm not so good at that right now, or this is not my ministry, but this is what I want to be better at. Like if I can just stand on that saying, instead of saying, well, I'm not so, I don't really know this, I don't really have that. And so we're judging because somebody else may have that. And so therefore something's wrong with me because I don't know that or can't do that. Well, that's not maybe your thing, or maybe it's not what you know yet, but to be able to stand on that, the more you know who you are, the easier it is to do that. And the easier it becomes after some time for you not to be as susceptible to the judging that will likely happen when you're in a field or a world where others are doing similar work or just working, period.
Absolutely. And I would just like to stress, to add to that, so much of the bad behaviors are driven by the idea that you won't make any money if you don't stay up all night, or if you're
Right,
not,
right.
everywhere doing everything. And I would just like to testify and offer my testimony to
Yeah,
the court of public opinion. That is not true. What is yours will not miss you. And you can't do half-ass work and expect to get like great results. So if you're not operating in a space where your physical and mental health are taken care of, are prioritized, so that you can actually perform at your best, the work you may get won't matter because it won't be good, and then you'll be ruining relationships. So it's very, very important that you understand
absolutely.
that these that your physical health and your mental health, your overall health, and the way you choose to structure and operate your life are the most key components to whether or not your business will be successful. Business plans
Absolutely.
are great, projections are great, but if you ain't there to do it, then it doesn't go, right? So I would just
Absolutely.
like to add that to the conversation.
Yeah, I went to California and visited the Google headquarters in the Palo Alto area, and I was just blown away by how they structured even just their campus. I mean, they had a parking lot where there were bikes that you could bike to the office from the parking lot, like the bikes you get at the beach, and some had baskets on them. I walked around. It was in the middle of the day on a Wednesday at like 11 o'clock. They had volleyball nets set up. They even had a beer tasting going on, a private like beer tasting going on for employees. They had pools, and of course they have like free childcare. And I thought I was in some, amusement park at one point. It was just the colors were so vibrant. The window, every office had floor to ceiling windows, and it was just a beautiful place. And I remember thinking, it's not just about them giving a luxurious work experience. They are really trying to promote opportunities for your work life, which is where people spend a lot of their time,
Mm-hmm.
to also include opportunities for rest and respite and fun, because that doesn't just make it a good place to work, it makes you a better employee. So it's not just about them saying we want to make it a great, wonderful, again, experience, which they do, but it was about them also saying we are building a work environment that can mirror what we want employees to adopt, which is finding things and finding opportunities for those breaks that we get into our lives. And that's, of course, people who have that 9 to 5. But at the same time, you may get lunch breaks and work breaks, and you don't take them because you believe I have to work through it. I got to push through it. I'm not going to take vacation because that's going to get me off my schedule. It's going to get me off my, I'm going to miss something, when really having that vacation might have made you just that much more prepared to face what was coming when you got back, because you're now rested. You had a break from the monotony of the lights and the computer and the phone and numbers and things. And so think about it like that. Like, think about how, I think, and again, that takes practice. That takes practice where we grew up, and again, in a culture where it was burn the midnight oil. My mother, who I admired probably the most in the world, was a 60-hour a week corporate America, success, where it was like, that's what it looks like where you do this. I mean, you have your kids up there in your office at night doing our homework because we cannot leave until it's done. And I admired her tenacity. But what she did encourage, again, with that next group, and so I think, was that, do it the way you need to do it. You have children, you have a life, you have friends, you have identities that you want to thrive in and feed them. Like, don't especially when you know that your business, which it may be your, of course, your big identity, and maybe your main identity is your business, and that's fine, but at the end of the day, if that wasn't there, who would you be? Who would be who, if your body wasn't strong enough to be that boss or that CEO? Who would run it? Who is there for, who would it go away? And just knowing that at the end of the day, you're the most common denominator in all of that, then you are the priority. You are, people put their priority on their business. As a psychologist, I put a priority on people. And so it's like, how are we feeding these people and feeding you? Well, you do the same thing. Feed yourself. And I think you'll find success that comes after that.
Awesome, awesome. So thank you to Dr. Eliza Belle. I also want to thank Chris Mosley, if we can bring him back. And I want you guys to tell people, how can they get in contact with you? Where can they find you or find the services that you recommend and represent? Chris?
To get in contact with Alabama Regional Medical Services, you can reach us at 205-407-5600. We would be glad to meet your healthcare needs, and especially are encouraging anyone who is seeking health insurance before Sunday, August the 15th, to get in contact with us as soon as possible. Be glad to help.
All right, Dr. Bale, how can the people get to you?
All right. Well, you can reach me at my website is Dr. Eliza Belle. That's Belle with the E on the end.com. I'm also on Instagram at Dr.Eliza Belle. And on my website, you'll find information about how to get in touch with me for whatever your needs are. I don't only offer therapy, but I also make a big mission to offer resources. And so if you need anything for yourself, your organization, your family, I am more than available to provide that for you. Just like Chris offered, there's so many things out there where you can access the things that you need. And so he talked about all the different health resources. And so there's mental health resources that are very similarly available. And we just don't know about them all the time. So if I need to kind of hand off some of that stuff, I'm more than happy to do that.
Awesome, awesome. I have thoroughly enjoyed this conversation. We have shared some good information, and I hope people take advantage of it and really put themselves in a great position to take the leap or to solidify themselves in the business they're already starting. I believe entrepreneurship is a spectrum. So if you want to keep your full time job and have your side hustle, you are just as valuable to this ecosystem as somebody else who wants to go full time into a high tech,
Absolutely.
high growth startup. Like, there is no shame there. I don't believe in shaming people in entrepreneurship. Everybody is important on every point of the spectrum, and these resources are here for you. We have fought for these resources, we have lobbied for these resources, and it's important that we take care of ourselves and access these resources, particularly if we are to go into another situation where we are going to go into lockdown. Your mental health will be very, very important. I myself am going to see a nutritionist so I can continue not to grow. in, in the event that we do have to isolate ourselves from each other further. But please do what you need to do to take care of yourself. It is important to me that you are here with us. Your life matters, your health matters, and I want you to make yourself a priority so that you can actually run the business of your dreams in reality. All right. So thank you for joining us today. Stay tuned. Next week we'll be on Thursday, the 19th, we'll be talking about business operations. And this is important because so many creatives tell me all the time, I don't want to do business. I just want to do tattoos. Or I don't want to do business. I just want to do hair. So we're going to talk about how you can optimize and set those processes up so you can focus on doing your craft and less on doing the business, but still get paid, right? So make sure you tune in next Thursday, August 19th. Thank you for joining me today. Continue to be well. Take care of yourself, wear a mask, get vaccinated if you can. I can't wait to see you all real soon. And I'll see y'all next week. Bye.